I before E except after C. Were you taught this rule of spelling? I was. Consistent with this rule, relieve is spelled with an IE and receive with an EI. But my teacher did say that there are exceptions to this rule. She also taught me the saying, the exception proves the rule. Have you heard it? It means that when there is one or just a few exceptions to a rule, the rule is valid in the majority of cases, making it a reliable rule. But it turns out that in the case of the I before E except after C rule, there are many exceptions. Far too many for it to be considered a reliable rule to follow. Here are some examples of E before I, even though the letters do not follow a C. Ageism. The EI configuration comes about here because a word ending in E, age, has been given the ism suffix. Ageism means discrimination against a person based on his or her age. It usually applies to a bias against older people in the job market, for example. Beige is an elegant, understated sandy shade. One of my favorites. Another example of a word spelt with an EI without a C in sight. Leicester. This is a proper noun, the name of a place in England. Apart from breaking the EI norm, its pronunciation is also unexpected. I've heard people say Leicester and Leicester, but the correct pronunciation is Leicester. Vale. This word is often mispronounced in two different ways. One is when people say veal rhyming with feel instead of veil rhyming with pale, which is the correct pronunciation. The other mistake is the common VW problem. Bite your V and say veil. Otherwise it sounds like whale, which is the giant sea mammal that breathes through a blowhole on top of its head. Imagine that covering someone's face. Pronounced forfeit and not forfeit. This means having to give up something, such as a right, privilege, or piece of property, as a penalty for breaking a rule. Queuing. This word is created by adding the ing ending to the word queue, leading to the EI formation. This is similar to how we get the EI formation in the word ageism. Albeit is a compound word formed by joining together the three words in the phrase albeit, which means although it be that. We get the EI spelling because it joins together two words, the first of which happens to end in an E and the second one begins with an I. The cuneiform script is an ancient script developed by the Sumerians of Mesopotamia around 3500 BC. The word literally means wedge-shaped, reflecting the shape of the pictograms or letters in the script. It comes from Latin and retains the EI spelling from the original language. Way, weird, heinous, air, seas and height are some of the other words that break the I before E except after C rule. Which brings us to ancient, a word that breaks the except after C part of the rule. The I is before E even though they come after a C. In all words where CIE is pronounced sh as in ancient, the except after C part of the rule is broken. This is fancier than that. Fancier is the comparative form of the word fancy. This is the fanciest one. Fanciest is the superlative form of the word. Similarly, icy, icier, and iciest. In comparative and superlative forms of words ending in CY, the except after C rule is not followed. The plural forms of words like delicacy, mercy, and tenancy are delicacies, mercies, and tenancies. The CY at the end of the singular word is replaced by CIES at the end of the plural word, thus breaking the except after C rule. A concierge is a person at a hotel whose job is to look after the guests. A caretaker at a residential building could also be called a concierge. The IE after the C in this spelling is thanks to the French origin of the word. There are other words like science, society, and fancied that also break this rule. So to make the original rule more robust, we would have to add many more clauses to it. It would end up looking something like this: I before E except after C, or when sounded like A as in neighbor and way, unless the C is sounded as sh as in glacier, or it appears in comparatives and superlatives like fancier and iciest, and also except when the vowels are sounded as E as in seas, or I as in height, or also in ing inflections of words ending in E such as queuing, or in compound words like albeit, or occasionally in words with strong links to their parent language as in cuneiform, or in many other random exceptions like science, forfeit and weird. So while I before E except after C is a sticky phrase that's easy to remember, it's only occasionally true and therefore not a very good rule. So the bad news is that you will have to memorize words which have IE or EI in their spelling. Which brings me to another phrase about rules. Rules are meant to be broken. The I's and E's have certainly taken this phrase to heart. I'm the English Nut, and it's bye for now. Like this content? Do subscribe. Like, comment, share, tag your friends. From one English Nut to another, thank you.